So today's our topic is the Bohr effect. To understand this topic, there are some basics. We know that in the body, for example, this is a cell. I am saying this as a cell A. Then this cell produces many carbon dioxides. Why these produces carbon dioxide? Because carbon dioxides are the product of the aerobic respiration. These are not actual product or the needed product which are essential for the body metabolism, or without this carbon dioxide the body cannot run, cannot perform this function. These are not this is not for this purpose. What is the purpose of the carbon dioxide? Because of the several reactions in the aerobic respiration for the conversion of the glucose to the pyruvic acid, and the pyruvic acid to pyruvate, and then pyruvate to the Krebs cycle via the different mechanism, and then the respiratory chain. Then as a result of these reaction, carbon dioxide produced as a byproduct. So the carbon dioxide which is produced by the byproduct of the aerobic respiration will accumulate or will start to accumulate in this cell. And we all know that these reactions occur in the mitochondria. It's aerobic respiration. So as a result of aerobic respiration, these carbon dioxide molecules produced will start to accumulate in the cell. For example, these are the carbon dioxide molecules produced in the cell as a result of the cellular or aerobic respiration. So how we get rid of these extra or extra carbon dioxide from our body or from our cell? How we get rid of this? What is the mechanism involved that is involved in getting rid of these carbon dioxide? The carbon dioxide is also called a volatile acid. Why we are calling this as a volatile acid? Because we get rid of the carbon dioxide by the process of expiration, and the carbon dioxide can combine with the water. For example, this carbon dioxide can combine with the water to form the carbonic acid, and this carbonic acid dissociates to form hydrogen and bicarbonate, and we all know that the acids are those substances which donate the hydrogen ion. So this hydrogen ion directly come from the carbonic acid, but we can see that it indirectly comes from the carbon dioxide. That's why we call this carbon dioxide as a volatile acid, and we can get rid of this as a process of the expiration. And this process of expiration so helps to keep the pH of the body constant. This so the basic concept is carbon dioxide produced in the cell by the process of aerobic respiration. How we get rid of this carbon dioxide? This is our concern. So we know that the structure that in the blood vessel, the blood will run. For example, this is the blood vessel. In this blood vessel, the blood will run, and the blood contain this is the plasma portion, and also contain the white blood cells. These are the white blood cells or platelets, or some also red blood cells. And we know that these red blood cells contain in it hemoglobin, and this hemoglobin carries oxygen with it. So what the mechanism occur is through these red blood cells, and we know that the structure of the red blood cell, this red blood structure is biconcave, means this red blood cell is biconcave in structure. This is the structure, means this is the one concavity of the RBC, this is the other concavity of the RBC. That's why we call this as the biconcave structure of RBCs. So why we are concerned to look into the structure of the RBCs? So you will get a better knowledge of this process by considering this structure. So what is the mechanism? I told you that the RBCs has a biconcave structure. So what will happen? The RBCs contain the hemoglobin. I draw this as the suppose this is the RBC. Suppose this is the RBC molecule, RBC cell, red blood cell, RBC cell, and this is the general body cell which produces carbon dioxide by aerobic method. Then what will happen? This RBC also contain hemoglobin. Suppose this is the hemoglobin, and hemoglobin also carries along with it oxygen. So we can see that this is the oxyhemoglobin. This is the oxyhemoglobin. Why we are calling this as the oxyhemoglobin? Because it is carrying oxygen with it. So this is the oxyhemoglobin. So what will happen? this excess carbon dioxide, this is the ICF, we call this as the ICF, intracellular fluid, and this is the ECF, extracellular fluid. So inside the cell, from the fluid, intracellular fluid, this carbon dioxide that are produced by aerobic metabolism will start to move outside the cell in the ECF, will start to move outside in the cell ECF. So these carbon dioxide enter into the RBCs, these will enter into this RBC as there I show. And what will happen? This carbon dioxide will start disappearing from this side and start to appearing in this side, means this carbon dioxide appear here. And in the RBCs, what happened? The carbon dioxide that appeared in the RBCs, which is actually the carbon dioxide transported from the cell to the RBCs, what will it do? It will combine with the water in the RBC, and after combining with the water, what will it do? Carbon dioxide plus water, it form an acid which is known as the carbonic acid, and carbonic acid will further dissociates into the hydrogen ion as well as bicarbonate ion. So it gives an acid. So that's why we call this carbonic acid as an acid. So what will happen in this whole mechanism? We can see that before the transfusion of the cellular or body cellular carbon dioxide into the RBC cell, before diffusion, the the carbon dioxide concentration in the RBC cells are low before their diffusion. But after they diffuses from the body cell into the RBC, the carbon dioxide concentration start to increase. So first mechanism that happen is partial pressure of the carbon dioxide increases in the RBCs. So first mechanism that will happen is the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the RBCs start to increase, and the second mechanism that will happen is the pH will become of RBC, pH of the blood or the RBC, pH of the blood will become lower. Why the pH become lower? Because this carbon dioxide, because the carbon dioxide increases, when the carbon dioxide concentration increases, then it combined with the water, more carbon dioxide combined with more water, then the more carbonic acid form, more carbonic acid will give more proton. So that's why more proton means the pH decrease, the pH will decrease from the 7 to beyond. This means it can 6 5 4 3 2 1. So two process happen by the transfusion of the carbon dioxide from the body cell into the RBC. First, partial concentration of the carbon dioxide in the blood increases. Second, pH of the blood decreases. So these two systems, these two processes, what will they do? These two processes will then causes the hemoglobin to lose these hydrogen, to lose these oxygen atom that are bonded to the hemoglobin. So what will happen? We can say that the increased partial concentration or the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide and decrease in the pH will decreases the affinity of hemoglobin towards oxygen. That's why these oxygen start to separate from this hemoglobin and start to enter in the cell and start entering in the cell. They gain entry into the cell. They can pass cell easily because we know that the oxygen is non-polar. That's why it gain entry into the cell easily, and the conversely carbon dioxide can cross the membrane easily and get into the blood because the carbon dioxide is also non-polar. So we state that the hemoglobin loses the oxygen. So before this, the state of the hemoglobin is oxyhemoglobin state because it is combined with the oxygen. It was combined with the oxygen. So we also call the oxyhemoglobin state of the hemoglobin as the R state. So this oxyhemoglobin state or the R state is now converted into the, we can see that this is the hemoglobin without oxygen is now converted into the T state, which is also known as the deoxyhemoglobin state because oxygen has been removed. This is known as the deoxyhemoglobin state. So what will happen in at the cellular level or the tissue level, the affinity of hemoglobin towards oxygen decreases, so the oxygen starts separating from the hemoglobin and gain entry into the cell. That and the hemoglobin from the R state is converted into the T state. This whole process is called the Bohr's effect. This whole process is called the Bohr effect. And we can also see that in this process the dissociation of the oxygen increases. What it means the oxygen dissociate more from the hemoglobin into the cell. More oxygen will move from the hemoglobin into the cell by leaving the hemoglobin and entering into the cell. We can also draw, if we draw a graph, then on the x-axis if we show the oxygen dissociation, then the graph will be towards right, means this will be towards right, means this will show that the oxygen dissociation, the graph will be towards the right, means this shows the if at this point the oxygen combined with the hemoglobin is maximum, means maximum concentration of oxygen is combined with the hemoglobin. But after the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide and the pH become lower, then this oxygen affinity of hemoglobin starts decreasing, and because these start decreasing, the oxygen dissociation into the cell, this oxygen starts dissociating into the cell, means oxygen dissociation into the cell increases. So that's why the oxygen dissociation curve of the oxygen dissociation curve at the cellular level is, or of the Bohr effect, is towards the right. So this is the main mechanism. So this whole process or this Bohr effect take place at cellular level or tissue level. Now what will happen in the lungs? So let's see. Consider, I'm bad in the drawing. Consider these are the lungs. So what will happen? This RBC also, then this RBC that loses its oxygen into the cell, body cell, and carries its carbon dioxide into its own structure. What will it do when it come into the lung cell? This is the same RBC. When it come into the RBC, what will it do? This is the RBC. Then we know that what will happen, what was happen in this cell is carbon dioxide partial pressure increases, it combined with the to form the carbonic acid dissociate to form the hydrogen ion and bicarbonate ion, and the hemoglobin molecule loses, and the hemoglobin molecule lost its oxygen atom, and after losing its oxygen atom, it was converted from the oxyhemoglobin state to the deoxyhemoglobin state. Now what will happen at the lungs level? Now we are studying at lungs level. What will happen at the lungs level? So what will happen at this level? At this level, when this process in which the carbon dioxide combined with water to form carbonic acid and carbonic acid dissociates to form hydrogen and bicarbonate ion occur reversibly, means in this process hydrogen will combine with the bicarbonate ion, and after combining with the bicarbonate ion it form the carbonic acid, and carbonic acid will then dissociate to form carbon dioxide and water. And then next what will happen, this carbon dioxide will diffuse into the lungs, and the lungs will then excrete this carbon dioxide through the, and the lungs would then excrete this carbon dioxide through the process of expiration or exhalation. So what occur in this RBC at the lung, at the level of the lungs? The hydrogen ion and bicarbonate combine to form carbonic acid, and carbonic acid breaks down to form carbon dioxide and water, and this carbon dioxide crosses the cell membrane and enter into the lungs, and after entering into the lungs will get rid of this carbon dioxide, get rid of this volatile acid by the process of exhalation or expiration. Now what will happen to this cell after it loses loses its carbon dioxide. So after it continuously losing its carbon dioxide, the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide, means the two processes happen. The partial pressure of the carbon dioxide will start to decrease, because the carbon dioxide are moving out of this cell into the lungs. And the second process is because the carbon dioxide decreases, which is a source of an acid, so that's why the acidic concentration or the acidic nature of the cell decreases. And because the acidic nature decreases, so we can say that the pH of the solution or of the blood will start to increase. So the whole two processes occur oppositely to the processes that occur at the cellular level. Means we discussed that at the cellular level partial pressure of carbon dioxide increases and the pH decreases, but at the lungs level the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide decreases and the pH increases. And these both factors will induce or will cause this hemoglobin to attract oxygen. So what it causes, the low concentration of the carbon dioxide in the hemoglobin, or the higher pH in the hemoglobin at the lungs level will causes the hemoglobin to attract the oxygen, or they will increases the affinity of the hemoglobin to attract the oxygen. So we can see that this hemoglobin is deoxyhemoglobin. Why we are calling this as deoxyhemoglobin state? Because it do not carry hemoglobin, and deoxyhemoglobin state is also called the T state. So what will happen, this hemoglobin starts to attract the oxygen from the lungs, and in the lungs and from where the oxygen in the lungs come when we inhale, when we process the inhalation, then this oxygen from the outside environment comes into the inside of the lungs, and from inside of the lungs this oxygen will gain entry into the cell and enter into the RBCs and start to combining with the hemoglobin. And when these oxygen start to combining with the hemoglobin, because the hemoglobin capacity for the oxygen increases to attract, that at this point the deoxyhemoglobin state will be converted into the oxyhemoglobin state, because the hemoglobin will be found at this state combining with the oxygen, and the oxygenated oxyhemoglobin state is also known as the R state. So at the lungs level, the T state of the hemoglobin is converted into the R state, while the reverse happen at the cellular level. At the cellular level, we discussed that the oxyhemoglobin state or the R state is converted into the T state, which is also known as the TOT state or deoxyhemoglobin state. So that's all about the Bohr's effect, and that's an additional talk about what things or what changes happen in the lungs or at the lungs level. Thank you.